Yesterday, on front page, we broke down what the new IT amendment rules really are. You know what has changed and why the government says that these changes are extremely critical. Today, though, we are going a step further, diving a little deeper maybe. We are looking at the critical side of these amendments, the concerns that experts have already started to raise, the practical challenges of enforcing them, and of course, the questions around how these rules could potentially be misused. And of course, to help us unravel all of the loopholes, the vaguenesses, and what this means for platforms and free expression, I'm joined by our brilliant tech journalist, Supreet Kondinya. Welcome to the show, Supreet. How are you doing?
Thank you, Sudhi. Happy to be here.
It has been a deluge of conversation since yesterday.
Right.
Important moment, a momentous one as far
Right.
as the rules being announced. But first thing that comes to mind, Supreet, is the fact that we are looking at these orders which are not still detailed, or
Right.
they are not clear guidelines that there has to be a court order for making sure that the content comes down.
Of
So
course.
does that not just open up a whole new spiral and a tailspin?
Right. It does, Sudhi, because there are two aspects to this, right? So the first problem is, the nature with which the takedown orders are processed, right? There's something called as Section 79.
Yeah.
So this sort of protects your intermediaries, which are social media platforms, that okay, if a user uploads an unlawful content, you're not at fault. The
Fair
user
enough.
is.
Yeah.
But if you don't take it down, if
Then
don't
you become legally
if
liable.
you don't respond to a government order and take it down, then you are at fault here and you need to pay for your consequences. But the problem here, Sudhi, is that under Section 79, takedown orders can be given either through a court order
Okay.
or through a officer appointed by the government. And these officers can be anywhere above the rank of a DG police officer.
DIG.
Yeah, DIG police officer. That opens up a lot of problems where experts are saying that a DIG officer sending notices to social media platforms with himself deeming whether a piece of content is unlawful or not might not be the most appropriate.
So then
right?
he basically becomes the judge and jury and the executioner.
Exactly. He becomes a judge and the jury. So it has to be processed by the courts itself. But the
Which
section
formally was the case though.
exactly. So the section
69.
yeah. That's the section 69A. That gives a lot of opportunity for a legal process. There's a lot of procedural things that go on before a content withdrawal order is issued. That happens within the court. But under section 79(3) 1D, so who can issue a takedown under this rule is not just the court, right? It also can be an authorized officer.
Yeah, that opens it up, Supreet, to me,
Exactly.
according to me, opens it up to personal biases as well.
Exactly.
I mean, if you didn't like something or your political inclinations or something otherwise,
Exactly.
you could say, okay, I don't deem it fit, take it down.
Exactly. But also that the piece of content also needs to be deemed as unlawful. But here's a problem. If you sort of put through some loopholes, dig deep, any piece of content in this day and age can be deemed defamatory. The point is there's no grounds for challenge. Order is issued, through a certain period of time, the content needs to be removed.
Yeah.
Now the problem is compounded when that time period is reduced to a
been
mere
shrunk.
3 hours, right? This just means a possibility. Again, I might be a bit oversimplifying the issue here. You have 3 hours, the order is sent, content needs to be removed. Where's the scope for challenge, right? Under Section 79.
Although Kanishk yesterday was mentioning the fact that it has come down, challenge has come down from 15 days to 7 days.
Exactly.
But still,
But still,
the gap as far as 3 hours, 2 hours vis-a-vis 7 days.
exactly, is significantly reduced. I think
Yes.
that's, to reiterate, that's the problem. Now anyone can issue an order and the authorized officer need not be a judge, need not have the order,
Tell me
need not
this, you
have
and I were
any
discussing
judicial
this.
scrutiny also.
I want to talk to you about
Sure.
two things. One was, of course, the fact that what is the general input as far as the legal experts is concerned, because you have spoken to a few people. What is their personal reaction to this? Point one. And point two, if you remember, there was the government reaching out to platforms like X, for that matter, and other platforms when unfortunate railway accidents took place. And the government said that no, it puts the entire aspect of you putting out these things on the platform in bad light.
Exactly.
So bad light could be good light for me.
Exactly. So again, the unlawfulness can be subjective. I think it's not a black and white area, right? So again, to determine whether something is unlawful or not, you have long court sessions and procedures. This can't be done in such a short time. To answer your question, the legal experts that I spoke to, one, are obviously expressing a lot of concern with regards to this, how the orders are sent, who can send the orders, and the core aspect of it is you as the poster, original poster of the content, will not have access to the order for removal, right? Only the intermediary, the social media platform, gets the order for removal. So you as a user, as the poster of the content, you barely have any idea of what has happened behind the scenes. The intermediary gets the order, and within the set time, that needs to be removed.
Do you think there is any political hue to this in terms of the fact that these guidelines have been put out there to make one's case a lot stronger, and the fact that the control becomes a lot better with something like this? You're shrinking the time windows. Do you think there's some political motivation to it? Because we all understand political propaganda.
Of course, I mean, there's that one angle if you see it in the positive side of things, right? We've seen a lot what happened in X recently, the social media platform that sent out a lot of sexually explicit images. And with those kind of situations, it obviously makes a whole lot of sense. But given the concerns that people have raised with regards to freedom of speech and how politically critical pieces of content have been removed, how some books, movies are not being released. But here's the thing: if you want to ban a book or a movie, this is an expert who was talking to me yesterday. If you want to ban a book or a movie, it needs to go through a lot of procedure, right? But if you want to ban a social media post, you know how easy it is to do within 3 hours.
Become fickle.
Right. And even though it's still just a social media post, it contains a lot of weightage, because you also brought up how, so there was a series of reports, news articles and images and posts on X that showed, the effects of a stampede in India, and the issues with the Indian railway system, and the railways ordered for these pieces of content to be taken down. Yes, through a certain lens, these might be deemed as unlawful, but it's still information, and it's still a piece of content, it's still news, even though it might be defaming the railways department. It's still news.
Well
right?
said,
Yeah, so there needs to be a lot of nuance. There needs to be a lot of, basically, these are what courts are here for, right? If the railways are offended, sure, you have their point of view. If the poster says no, this is not a ground for the railways to take offense, this is just information.
Point taken.
You have the jury, you have the judicial system to sort of decide who is right or wrong, and whether to let the piece of content be online or not. But now it's just gonna get
somebody's
easier.
Arbitrary
Exactly.
sort of method. That
even though it's not arbitrary, right?
It is in a way.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. But ideally, you just want the piece of a committee, a jury, a judge, a court to take.
Something.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as the squeezing of the window is concerned, technically, Supreet, what do you have to say to that? Because implementation of these guidelines becomes all the more gruesome and tougher.
Exactly. So that's the second aspect of things that experts told me yesterday. Now, if you get a legal order, you need to verify whether it's from the right entity, whether the legal order is legitimate. Then you got to respond to the order, then you got to take down. All of this needs to be done in 3 hours. Now, this puts tremendous amount of pressure for social media platforms, which I don't see it as a problem, because if there's anything unlawful, if there's anything hurting a person, it shouldn't last a second on the internet. But
you and I went berserk when the Grok thing happened. You remember?
Exactly.
I mean, I was personally requesting Mr. Musk. You were doing it. We were making a huge case out of it.
Right. So the time period isn't an issue, but the mechanism with which it's taken down should be, should be streamlined, should be ensured that it does not give room for any misuse. And two, there's another aspect to the amendment which I think you would have discussed with our colleague Kanishk yesterday, is that deepfakes should...
2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Companies and intermediaries must prevent deepfakes or synthetically generated content to go online, right? But the problem is, do we have good enough infrastructure and tools to determine whether something is deepfake?
Not right now.
Yeah. Whether something is AI generated before it goes out, right? What if someone's trying to legitimately upload some sort of a video that gets wrongly flagged as AI? So it's not in tandem, right? The technology to detect AI and deepfake content isn't as good enough for a government, for a state to come out and tell.
Finally, I need to ask you this. We are taking this right step maybe? but are we taking the right step in the right direction, or we don't even know where we are going?
Exactly. This is a right step, certainly, but the staircase must be built so that the steps, aren't harmful. I don't know if that analogy made sense.
No, it did.
Of course, this is very much a step in the right direction. With AI, people are going haywire, the kind of content they're releasing, but it needs to be streamlined so that parties can implement this rule effectively, right?
Fair
so the
enough.
goal is achieved,
Yeah.
and of course, it does not curb freedom of speech or expression, does not cater to a certain political agenda,
Fair.
and it needs to be, the removals need to be fair, and the intent needs to be conveyed in a proper manner.
Fabulous.
But these are early days. Well, of course, I wish to see the government take feedback and the criticism in the right way. They did it with the Sanchar Sathi app.
And that's of
So,
course the
yeah.
feedback that we expect from you on Front Page. Thank you so much, Supreet, for all of your insights. We definitely want to know what you feel about this, and we are waiting to put it out there. Please always, as remember, like, share, subscribe, and think AI,
Think
think
AI.
AIM, and think digital safety.